and I have like this irrational hatred for Rickard Rydell because every time his AI would just always ram me off. I just really enjoyed just sort of the rhythmic banging, you know. I take that into real life.
So I thought I'd give you like a bit of a treat as we've just gone back into lockdown in the UK. Happy times. Someone who's been requested a lot. Obviously, come on, he's the king of sim racing. 571,000 subscribers strong. It's Sheddy Irvine himself, Jimmy Broadbent. How are you, my friend?
Shaki X is my favourite one. That's the best one. That's a good one.
You've literally you've taken one of the questions already, mate. I was going to ask you what your favourite one is.
Shaq Villeneuve is there as well. But yeah, I'm good. Is it really 571? I don't even know anymore.
I double checked like 10 minutes before we jumped on this call just to make sure the numbers are right. But,
Christ. But I'm good,
well
thank you. I've got my coffee.
Well on the way to 600k, mate. Before we jump into this, I've got... Honestly, this was hilarious, right? I've got to tell you this. So last night, me and the missus, Hannah, we went for a walk with our little dog. He's not been feeling too well, so we took him for a little walk around the block. And I was like, oh, I need to get up because we're filming this at just gone 10 in the morning. And I was like, oh, I need to get up I'm doing that podcast with Jimmy, aren't I? And she was like, oh, what, Jimmy Longhead?
What? I mean, come on, it's not that big, man.
Literally, I was in tears. I was like, what? Who's the fuck's Jimmy Longhead?
I've not heard that one before. I get broadband a lot. So
That's
when broadband sort of came out in secondary school, so it was hell for me. Like, I was like, oh, they've got me. Just narrow straight as well. Broad arse is one as well, which is
nice.
So yeah, if there's a permutation, someone said it at some point.
Nice. And I mean, yeah, obviously, like, how are things your end at the moment? You know, we've just gone into this second lockdown nonsense, and like, what's the situation?
To be honest, it's not terrible for YouTubers, sort of, as you know, because we can still work, we can still do stuff.
Yeah.
It's more just the bits in between, because I don't know about yourself, but I find that I get a little bit stir crazy after a while.
Yeah.
You know, I get cabin fever or shed fever, I guess. I should have one of those shirts saying like, "I got shed fever in Jimmy's shed," like if someone ever. Yeah, I mean, I think my main sort of concern is it was going to be like the first one, because the first one was just insane in terms of work. You know, you're pretty much working till you get up, work, go to bed. That was pretty much how it was for most of that lockdown. So I was a bit concerned about that, but I think that no one's really. Oh, I still do studio work for Gran Turismo. I went out yesterday, first day of lockdown. It doesn't look like it's lockdown.
No.
So, you know, but we're doing okay though. I don't think it's gonna be as big of a deal, this one.
No, I agree. I think people aren't taking it as seriously, but also it's not as strict anyway in the rules. So I don't know, man. It's a strange world we live in. You've had a Herculean rise over the years, and I want to kind of use this opportunity to kind of delve in, maybe ask a few questions you've not been asked before, just as a, like, literally you are my edit fuel. Like, I will literally be sitting there editing, and if you're doing a live stream, I'll stick it on. Like, whenever I'm jumping in the comments, it's not just because, oh, I've got my tick now, so I'm going to start commenting on loads of people live streams. Like, I do actually watch your stuff, man, and it's prime edit fuel for me. How does that make you feel?
By the way, I totally did that when I first got my tick. I was like, "Oh, hi, I got my tick. Look, everyone, it's me." But I mean, that makes it very special. And I mean, obviously, when you're bored,
Correct.
you know, you're gonna be more bored. So you just misery loves company, right? So you jump into the live stream.
Just watching you struggle on Gran Turismo, like, just is.
I've never understood why those streams do so well, because I watch it back and I hate it. I'm like, I hate this guy. Why is he so bad? Like, why can't he do it? But everyone's like, oh, it's quite therapeutic. I'm like, what's wrong with you guys? You're like, we enjoy watching the struggle.
I don't know. It's kind of, It's strange because it's a combination of a familiar face, because a lot of that, you've built your audience over time. You've got a lot of people who've been there for years, so they feel that kind of that connection with you, and it's just very relatable. It's like if you're, especially if you're kind of, you're living on your own or whatever, and you just stick that on, and it's Jimmy, he's streaming again, struggling like I used to, and it's the nostalgia. It's the perfect blend of you got nostalgia as well. Everything kind of comes together to make it work, I think.
I think if I were clever and sort of thought about stuff like that, maybe I'd do better as a YouTuber. But I'm just like, oh, you played Gran Turismo, good game to play, and that's basically as far as it goes for me. There's no sort of deep dive into what is the reason behind this. Just play it, fuck it.
Well, maybe we'll get into that today, Jimmy. Maybe we'll get into that today. I'll be your little marketing consultant. But first of all, I want to talk about kind of wind back to young Jimmy. I mean, I think there's only a couple of years between us, so we probably grew up with the same kind of games and same kind of titles at the time. Like, when did you first discover kind of racing video games? Do you remember your very first one, like, of any racing game?
Yeah, I do. So we had, well, there were two really. There was Super Hang-On on the Sega Mega Drive, which is a motorbike game, which I could never understand it at the time. I think I was like 3 or 4 years old, and trying to understand the concept of like building up your bike and paying for it. I was like, I just pressed the buttons, and sometimes it would accept me buying a bar. And I was like, oh, it worked this time, obviously because I had money, but I didn't know that. But my first like actual car racing game was a demo of the first Formula 1 game by Psygnosis, so the 95 season of F1, with Murray Walker doing the commentary and stuff like that. And it was a demo of the Nürburgring GP circuit. And you play as whenever you went into it, you play as a completely random car every time. So I'd go through it until I got the car I wanted, which was either a Ferrari, because it was red and I was a child, and apparently that's the thing, like, oh, red, yeah. And or I think it was like a black and sort of green car, so I'm gonna guess it was a Minardi or some sort, or something like that.
That makes sense.
I can't remember what it was, but then after that I got F1 97 when I had chicken pox, and my mum went out because I was looking really sad and bought me F1 97 because she had seen me playing this other game all this time. And then that was it. I sat down and just played that game till I couldn't find anything else to do in it. I remember doing my full long distance race when I was like 6-7 years old as Olivier Panis at Melbourne in the wet. And of course AI wasn't easy, so I was winning by like 3 laps. And I was like, I could be an F1 driver easy. And then I think it sort of went from there after that.
So it's amazing how much detail you remember that in. I can't.
It's because you got those flashbulb memories, they call them, where it's like an emotive memory. And I just remember just being completely content sitting there and doing this.
You know what you should do? Maybe you've done this on a stream, but like stick some gameplay of that on, or play that on stream. Because the reason I say this is because when I think about my first racing games, like literally, I feel like a couple of weeks ago, one of them was called Total Driving. Do you remember that?
I don't ever play Total Driving.
No one. I've asked so many people. No one remembers it. It was obviously a really niche, terrible racing game.
Was it real?
Yeah, it is. I'll put it on YouTube. I promise, it's real. But literally, I stuck some gameplay on, and it was just like this nostalgia just wave went through me. It was insane. But you should do that on stream, man. That'd be fascinating.
I've done it with a couple of games, because I also had the first Toka touring car game, or Toka touring car game. I was with Toka, but that's wrong.
Great game.
And I have like this irrational hatred for Rickard Rydell, because every time his AI would just always ram me off a circuit. And
Wasn't he in the Volvo?
Yeah, in the Volvo. Before it had the cool colours, it was had this weird paint scheme before that. Yeah. And I remember going down to my mum in tears because Rickard Rydell hit me off the track again. And I was only 21, 22 years old at that point. So no, I think I was like 5 or 6 when that happened.
So what was do you remember your like favourite car in the Toka Touring Cars games? Because I remember those. That's one of the ones that really sticks in my mind as well.
I mean, the favourite actual car would probably be the Renault, because it was a fast one. It was yellow. But of course, the best one is a tank, CM Garage tank. You go around and just merge everybody. Blow up Tim Harvey. Like, fuck you, Tim. Smash.
I really remember the one that sticks in my mind the most is the Audi, the thick boy S4, the silver and with the red and then the Peugeot. It's like the 406 with like the gold and green. I don't know why.
Yeah, I remember a lot of those. I had also got given a VHS by my granddad of that season, so I watched that season. I can tell you exactly what happened in that season, like in '97 touring cars, over and over again, easy. No clue about '96 or '98, but '97 I know everything about.
Very niche knowledge. That should be your, like if you ever find yourself on Mastermind, I think that should be your specialist subject. Do you reckon?
Imagine that. Yes, so 97 British touring cars, please. And it's like, what the fuck's wrong with this?
That's what they asked for, though. They asked you to be that niche, so I think you'd smash it, mate. But then what about kind of because obviously they were much more kind of arcadey games, and to be honest, I never really played sim racing games at all, to be honest, and the most sim racing game I ever really played was Forza, to be honest, and it's not a sim. But what was your first jump into the world of kind of more realistic? Where did you kind of really feel that kind of passion first kind of kicked in?
Well, I think there's like I think you can give some credit to games like Forza and GT because not long after I sort of played the touring car games in F1, I got my first go at the original Gran Turismo, and I think of that now, and I think of just how much it's aged. But then also I go back and play it, and I still get the same sort of level of like this. I'm just enjoying playing the game. It's kind of weird because you're only against 5 other cars. The circuits are quite spread out, and I don't know. But there's something very satisfying about playing it. I guess it might be a bit of nostalgia there as well, but. Yeah, then GT2 came along, which was just an expanded version of that, and I started to really get into like tuning the cars and seeing how much power, because obviously it's all about the power figure. I don't care about anything else. I'm like, all right, which has the most power? I've got to find out. And
all right, Clarkson.
And then that sort of just progressed until GT5, and I remember having this really intense race in Super GT cars. I think I was in like the old Castrol Supra, and against like a sort of, I think it was an R34 car at some point, and we had this really intense race at Deep Forest in reverse. I was on the gamepad. The first time I'd ever raced someone like cleanly in that game. Everyone always like bashed into you, and I was like, "This is amazing. This is like the best experience I've ever had. I need some more of this." So I sort of went online, and then didn't really find much, and then found this really weird-looking game called R Factor, where you could drive F1 cars, any F1 car you wanted from any period, and they all sounded great. And as an audio file, I was like, oh my god, I can hear like a V10 engine actually be amazing, or a V12 sing down the straight. Because in GT they sound like fucking vacuum cleaners in GT5. It's terrible. They're better now, but back then it wasn't good. So I saw that, and then got a PC, and then ruined my life.
And that's where, exactly. That's where history was made, my friend. Like you say about GT. Whenever I watch, like when I've been watching your GT streams recently, just that understeer sound is just, I feel like that should be like my alarm in the morning.
When I eventually die and go to hell, that's gonna be my noise, my torment. It's just that sound for like eternity. It's like, but I'm trying not to steer. Like, yes, you are. Oh my god, the time.
It's horrific. It's horrific, but it also like kind of like you say, the nostalgia effect makes it kind of tolerable. But it's funny you mention R Factor, because I want to talk to you, Jimmy, about your very, well, at least at the moment, I don't know if you've got any like privated videos from before, but your very first video on the channel at the moment. Do you remember it?
Yeah, my first sim video. I sort of restarted I had a couple of videos on there from like RuneScape before.
Oh, hang on. Well, Jimmy, we need to talk RuneScape a bit. Sorry. I'm a huge RuneScape fan.
Oh, yeah, good lad.
Talk to me about what was your top level? Come on.
I had like, I think 9 or 10 99s or something like that in the end.
Right, okay.
So I was a proper dickhead when I played it. I remember, like, you know the summer after like your last year in school, I think it's really cool. So I just played RuneScape the entire summer, like just completely threw it away, man. I don't really play it that much anymore. I play old school every now and then because I don't really get on with the new RS3 or whatever it is. But and I got fairly far in that, but I just don't have the time. As you probably know, RuneScape is a tremendous time sink. Like, you can literally sit there and click a tree for 6 hours and be like, I've done nothing today. My level's gone up once. Like, so yeah, but played that a hell of a lot, man. Christ. There is a thing that shows you your hours as well.
Yeah. Oh
Don't look
God,
at
yeah. There's the guy at Lumbridge who you can speak to. I can't remember his name, and he'll tell you
Yeah,
how many hours you've played.
I think if you look at that, that's when you sort of have to commit the big suicide. Then, oh, there it goes. Like, get rid of that. Done. Finished.
Oh, because I used to play what I feel like a lot, but the highest level I ever got, I think I got 90 mining, and that was it. Like, that
To be
was the
honest,
highest
90 mining is pretty.
Mining was
stat.
one of the, yeah, that was one of the like. It was a difficult skill to level up, and I just liked mining for some reason. I don't know, resourceful maybe.
Like character selection screen, like Tomo, resourceful. Like,
there you go. So, what was your favourite skill?
what was my favourite skill? I actually really enjoyed woodcutting, and that sounds really weird, but I sit there.
Resourceful, Jimmy.
Yeah, also Jimmy, resourceful. Also, I just really enjoyed just sort of the rhythmic banging. You know, I take that into real life. I was thinking about what I was going to say, and I thought, am I going to say that? Yeah, I'll say that.
I've never heard someone say, "I'm gonna," like you're chopping something down and you're not banging it. You're using the wrong side of the axe. Just.
That's why it took so fucking long. Oh man, wonder why I kept cutting up my hands.
Oh, brilliant! Those were the days. But yeah, I think I've still got it on my phone. But anyway, I digress. So anyway, that first video, I want to talk about the AE86 at Tsukuba on the 6th of May 2012. Done my research, mate. That's over 8 years ago now.
You gotta say that, man.
What kind of? I guess what. The reason I want to ask you is like, what kind of gave you that impetus to kind of, I'm gonna post something, I'm gonna put something out there in the first place?
I think like originally I posted it because I wanted to show my mates, like, how cool is this? I can drive this car around. I mean, I watched us driving back now. I was terrible. I was like all over the place, you know. And the FOV's wrong, and, you know, the character's in the wrong aspect ratio. Bear in mind, I'm like 21 when I'm doing this. Like, I'm why am I this bad at making a video, you know?
And I start somewhere, mate. Come on.
But I just wanted to show it off because the 8.6, you know, I mean, you know me, I'm a bit of a weeb when it comes to cars. I love anything Japanese, and the 8.6 is, you know,
100%
one of the holy grails of that.
Yeah.
And I think they the mod at the time sounded really cool. Sort of like this cool representation of how that car sounds. A bit synthy, but they all were back then. And I just wanted to show my mates. I thought it was really great. I mean, but you look back at it now, as I said, even that version of Tsukuba, I would never drive that now because my standards have risen to some stupid level now. I'm like, oh, that level's far too wide, not quite realistic for me. No. But I remember sitting down and thinking, how can I get people to watch this? So I went into like the description and put like all the gear I was using. Like, I'm using a G27 wheel. Oh, well, got a shifter as well. Oh, and a play seat. Oh. But of course, I don't show any of that in the video. I just say I'm using it. I could be using I'm using direct drive wheel. No one would know otherwise.
I was gonna ask actually because you got no idea from watching it if you're using paddle wheels. So.
But it was a wheel. But exactly, you watch it back. Like, is this guy all right? Like, is he having a stroke driving around? Like,
well, look, no, what you've got to do though. That's it's good that you feel that way because that shows the progression, like over all that time and from where you were then to where you are today. But like, when did you first? So obviously you weren't in that video. When did you first kind of pluck up the courage? Because I know that I know, you know, that first step in terms of putting yourself out there and putting you in the video is a big one. When did that first happen, or was it just audio first? Like, do you remember?
Yeah, it was audio first. I remember the first time I actually tried to do anything properly for YouTube. There's quite a big gap between that and then moving on to like iRacing and trying to talk about it.
Yeah.
And the first video I ever tried to do any commentary was actually Need for Speed Most Wanted. I thought, oh, I really like this game. Maybe I'll do like a little Let's Play of it, you know, because Let's Plays were pretty fashionable back then. And I thought, hello guys, Jimmy here, and today I'm going to play Need for Speed Most Wanted, and then I couldn't speak. I just went, oh, and then nothing else came out, and I just turned it off and like, well, fuck that. I can't do that. And then afterwards, I started to get into iRacing a bit more heavily, and I really enjoyed like showing the races because like, there wasn't really much on YouTube that was showing people racing or showing people's point of view or stuff like that. And I thought, well, maybe I can show mine a little bit. And the first time I did any commentary was over what was the series called? I was in a Pontiac Solstice, driving around Watkins Glen.
What an awful car.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's just, you just get onto a straight and you just wait. You just wait until death takes you, or you get to the corner, whichever comes first. But I found myself just doing that, and I spoke over it so softly because my girlfriend was at the time was in bed, like, and I'm in the same room with the PC. I was like, "Hey guys, it's Jimmy, and this is my race in the Solstice. I think it went pretty well. You know, like, it was
ASMR
like
before
that.
it was cool.
Yeah, see, I'm before the trend all these times.
Always.
I don't remember the first time I was on camera though. I think I did streaming maybe before I did on camera stuff, but
Yeah.
I remember recording myself go around again Watkins from like a camera of just watching me driving with the wheel, like facing back like that. I didn't speak over it at all though. And I think eventually I just went, well, let's try and put all those things together, and it sort of happened. So I basically went a really long way around to get to that point.
Well, you got there eventually, mate, and obviously you're kind of, you know, you went from that to where you are today. Where do you think that first kind of, when did you first start realise you were kind of gathering some momentum with this? Because like you say, obviously, and what do you credit that initial growth down to? Do you just think it was perseverance? Do you think it was like point of difference, like standing out? There wasn't really anyone else doing what you were doing? Like, what do you think? What do you put it down to?
Well, I think, like, funnily enough, my big first bit of growth came from Gran Turismo. Like Gran Turismo 3 and Gran Turismo 2. I sort of I've got to try. I sort of have to set us up a little bit. So I had quite a few issues with mental health around them, and luckily now doing better. But there was a time where I was trying to get back into work. Like I felt like if I worked, then my life would have value, that sort of thing. So I must work. I must contribute to society. Otherwise, I'm worthless. You know. And I kept doing that, and of course, because I was quite ill, and having my doctor say, "You just don't worry about it, just relax." I was like, "No, doctor's wrong. I'll go in." And I had like 3 jobs within, how many months was it? I had like 3 within like 4 months, I think, something like that. And each job ended the same way, me having some sort of like crazy breakdown, and then like leaving. I can't ever do it ever again. And the next time, I'm like, I'm fine. Let's go back to work. You know, it's weird how what your mind does in those situations.
Yeah,
But the reason why I'm going over that is because I then sort of said, okay, no, I can't at the moment. What else can I do to give myself some sort of reason to get up in the morning?
Yeah.
Let's make some videos. Let's do it more often. You know, let's stream. Let's do it all on YouTube. So I took a series that I half-assed on YouTube. I think it's when I got 1 million total views or something like that. That was F1, but it was the same sort of thing, same sort of milestone. I said, well, let's just do a playthrough of GT2 because I love that game. So I started that on as a video series and just gave up, as I always did, and then came back to it with streaming. I said, well, let's just do it on stream instead, you know. And back then, my best viewership on Twitch, I think, was like 100 when I played the first Project Cars game when it released. And I was like, oh my god, I'm a proper streamer now. Hashtag business email, you know, like and all that stuff. And I found myself at the end of GT having like 600 viewers. And I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. And this is over on YouTube. And then I started GT3, and in the first stream, I had 2,000 viewers, and I think I had around probably less than 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I was like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. And the chat, I remember,
ratio's crazy.
Yeah, the chat was so toxic.
Really?
I remember just ignoring it for the entire thing. But I basically I played GT3 through, and I went from from like less than 10,000 subscribers to about 20k, and then like GT4 as well, and sort of kept going up at 50k. And then I think from there it was just sort of finding my feet with videos and starting to get into doing the sim racing stuff. And I think they all sort of came together, and then I got more comfy with it, and the content got a bit more fluid, and it's always improving. I think still improving now, but yeah, I think that's sort of where it started. The initial kickoff was GT3.
Mad. And obviously now you do your streams and you do videos. What do you kind of and obviously a lot of the times those videos will be, I guess, because I've seen a lot of I've seen a lot of streamers who then take their streams and kind of clip the streams up and create videos, but also you do a lot of distinct videos on their own. Like, what's your kind of favourite type of content to create, do you find?
I think that it's hard to say. I don't like doing the videos where you cut up stuff and then put it on YouTube afterwards, because I am on YouTube already. I feel like I'm just recycling the content and making it shorter.
Yeah, of course.
There are some circumstances where I think, yeah, okay, it's a 24-hour race. Let's make a little highlight video of it, because that makes sense, because the people will actually get to watch it and have a look at it. Because not everyone's got 24 hours, unlike me, to sit down and do nothing. But it depends. I have like months where I really enjoy making videos. Like right now, I'm in a bit of a lull with it. I'm like, I've got no ideas. What do I do? And then with streaming, I can just whack on the stream and like seemingly do something that I don't think is relevant to my channel. Like I was streaming the Need for Speed Pepega mod, which is hilarious. And I have like 8,000 viewers at some point. I'm like, why have I got 8,000 viewers watching me do this? Like I don't know. But I like streams because it gives me a chance to interact with people. Because my favourite part of being a YouTuber is you get to talk to all these people and hear all their stories. It's really cool to sort of get to know all these people. Even if it's on a surface level, it's still nice to get to experience that in some way. And I like videos. It gives me a chance to sort of explore things that sometimes I have a question. I'm like, I wonder how this would fare in this situation. And I just test it out. And sometimes it's a bit stupid because when you're a YouTuber, you sort of learn to talk to yourself a little bit.
Of course.
So, driving a bus through a rally stage or something like that, you learn to just have fun with it and enjoy it. And that's really fun to do, just cut it together and see, like, how you can sort of make it more interesting and more punchy in editing. I really enjoy that process too. So I think I enjoy them both in different ways.
Yeah, because I think, like, a lot of the reason I say about Twitch streamers who then clip their streams for YouTube is that I know that the most effective way, if your focus is Twitch, you still need to leverage YouTube to grow your Twitch, because you can't, because Twitch is terrible for discoverability on its own. But obviously you've chosen to go down the more like just full on YouTube, and you don't. I mean, do you post that often on Twitch? I'm not.
If I go on Twitch, I do it to play games that aren't sim racing, and it's a complete casual affair. Like I go on there, like no webcam, like no alerts or anything. People will be like, "Oh, I've just become a sub." I'm like, "Oh, have you? Sorry, cheers." I just don't have I don't have anything on. But I think I have like 35,000 followers there. But I just never. I go on. It's like once a month sometimes.
Yeah. I'm the same. Like I literally have a Twitch just to play games randomly, and I have like a couple of thousand people who follow mine. But I'm just playing Fall Guys. Like it's just. I guess it's the kind of, because the thing is you're right. Like you wouldn't want to post the type of live streams that you do on Twitch on YouTube, because then that's not your audience. That's not what they want, right? It's not a racing game.
People always say to you like, "Oh, I'd watch you play anything," and it's like, no, you wouldn't. Like, I mean, you can say that. I mean, like for example, my friends and I were playing golf the other day on Twitch, and I'm not really a massive golf fan. I just like getting angry at the game and like shouting. It's like the opposite of like golf. Golf's meant to be this really sort of like gentleman's game, and we all turn up in our characters who are all like just grossly disfigured with like. Bright green clothing and stuff like that, and mint shoes, and like the shortest possible man you can be, like with this massive golf club, and then just shout at each other when we miss, like so. Nice. But that sort of stuff wouldn't really work on YouTube because it's not racing, it's no cars.
In terms of that side of things, in terms of like because that is essentially like a business decision for you, and it's like a marketing decision. That side of things, because obviously YouTube or Twitch starts as being this thing, just set the camera up, start talking, and then all of a sudden it becomes this monetizable thing. How have you I know you say that, but you've obviously got some business savvy around like what you're doing. I know you downplay it, but you must do.
I mean, I don't really think so, honestly, mate. Like,
you've got two GTRs, mate. Come on.
I found them. No, I mean, do you know what I found out the other day? I found out, and this is after I did my like sort of Dirt 5 like meh, it's okay video, because it is meh, okay.
Yeah, I watched that. Yeah.
I found out that my stepdad has like shares in Codemasters. I was like, oh shit.
Really?
I'm like, oh shit, sorry.
Well, you didn't say it was bad. You just said that it was a bit old-fashioned and maybe not relevant for the time. Do you think it's fair?
But I can imagine just like I walk into the house and he's just there on the table like, I've lost everything. Like,
it's all gone.
But yeah, I mean, I know there are games you can and can't stream like for me as a YouTuber, like and that's why I have the Twitch channel. Like I know my channel is based around racing, and like if I came in tomorrow and hey guys, I'm cooking something and let's be honest, it wouldn't be a good video. You know, I mean, you see it even with content that I think is relevant. I took my I did a video on my Skyline where it was sort of being tuned and stuff like that, which I thought was sort of relevant to the channel. You know, a bit of a step out, but it was still in the same sort of ballpark. Yeah. And that was one of my worst performing videos in the last year. And I was like, well, obviously those guys don't want to see that. Like, so it's about trying to make small steps outside of it. I think the people who watch my channel like racing and they like sim racing and maybe car games as well. And I think that's about as far as I can go, unless I can just get James May on the phone. Okay, hey James, mate, come be in a video because then I'll get views.
Stick him in the thumbnail, sorted. But that is, you're right. Like the thing is that when you look at anyone's audience, you know, there are going to be people, like you said, some people will be happy to watch you doing anything. Like I always use James May as that analogy.
Yeah,
I love James May so much that I will always watch anything he does. It doesn't matter what it is. But and that's the same for you. There are certain people who will watch anything you do, but that's a small subset of your audience, and that's why those people will have watched the GTR video, and a few people who are interested in both the sim racing and the GTR. But there's a lot of people, like with any YouTuber, who's interested in the content and not so much the individual. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And there's no it's not like, oh, why aren't you watching my videos sort of thing, because I think some people come across as entitled, as like creators. They think that everything they make is fantastic and they all deserve to have 100 billion views, but like some videos people just fucking phone it in, don't they? You see it, they're just like, they're like, oh yes, thumbnail, hello, yes, watch video, and they're just sitting there just having a beer like in the video. 100 million views, KSI drinks beer, 100 million views, Sidemen, ladies and gentlemen. Like
well, that's a great segue to something I wanted to ask in terms of because everyone talks about kind of how the amount of effort you put into a video or stream or whatever doesn't always return the views relatively. It almost never does. What's your kind of biggest example of maybe like a video you've thrown together but that's banged, or a video you've put loads of effort into and it's absolutely flopped?
I don't know, I'm trying to think of one that's appropriate. Cause I've had one where the subject maybe would probably help me out. It's where I got to race with the F1 drivers before any of the lockdown stuff happened, and like it was really rare to do that sort of thing. Now it's like, oh yeah, Max in my lobby again. But then it was crazy to have and it was like my day off and I was knackered. I think it was like after like a 6-hour race or something. I used to do a lot of those back in the day. And like a guy at Team Redline, a guy called Atsi, just went, Jimmy, we need fast drivers to come drive in our server. And I was like, well, what the fuck are you talking to me then? Like, you know, and then do you fancy coming in for a bit? So I said, yeah, okay. And then, of course, I just turned on my OBS just as a thought of, oh, maybe something cool will happen. And then it did, and I threw it together, and then that's like my second most, I think it's like 1 point something million views in it. It's crazy. Wow. But then conversely, you know, some of the real life content, like, for example, the Mazda, the MX-5 at Brands Hatch, I took it there. I so much effort into getting all the cameras sorted, getting everybody out there, you know, making sure the car was prepared. Like, in terms of hours put into that video, not necessarily just the production, but everything else, you know, probably totaled, you know, 40 hours getting that thing ready. And then editing afterwards, I did that, like, sat down and made sure it was just perfect, exactly the way I wanted it to. And it just, no one wanted to watch it. And you sometimes you feel a little bit frustrated when that happens, because you're like, well, why? I'm really passionate about this. I think the video was good, but then I think if you question that for everything, you'd end up going a bit insane. So you've got to just learn to let it go.
So true, mate. So true. Like you say, a subject. There's so many variables that go into it, and that's like, because I'm sure a lot of like people message you as well, like people who want to start making videos, and I see people, they're like, they'll post something and then they really stress over the views, and they're like, oh my god, he's not done as well.
Refreshing.
Like, you've just got to I feel like I've already kind of got to that place where, like, when I put a video out, it's dead to me almost. For want of a
Yeah,
better term.
I do that sometimes where like if I release a video that I'm like, I never release a video that I'm not happy with, but sometimes I'll watch the video back and I'll be like, I sort of missed the mark of what I was trying to do a little bit. Like it isn't like, oh, I've made a video about something completely different. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't think I quite got across what I wanted to say in that. And I'll put it up and go, well, I tend to show a lot of my videos to my moderators to go like, what do you think of this?
That's
Because
That's a good idea.
I'm still a little bit stupid in my brain sometimes, and I'll convince myself that like the thing I've done is terrible. It's the worst. Like this is a crime. This video, and then I'll watch it back and that's pretty good. I enjoyed that, Jimmy. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I'll like, I'll put it up, and then my ritual nowadays is that I leave it for an hour. I go like have a shower or a bath, do something that keeps me busy,
Yeah.
and then I come back to it. Then I look at how it's done on the hour, so at 6 usually, and then I go, right, okay, has it done well? And then if it's done well, I'll treat myself to look at the comments every now and then because people tend to be nice in the comments. If not, I'll just leave it. I'm like, fuck it, I don't want to think about this number because I'll just sit there and get depressed about it.
Yeah. It's very easy to get caught up in it for sure, man. It's a lesson that I've learned very quickly over like the last year. That the comments are not always a good place to be.
When you put effort into your videos, so like, I'd be upset if I came back and like, oh, what?
Yeah, but again, it's all relative though. Like that's the thing. I've because of the skill set I was able to learn whilst working for the last since I've been working in like design for the last like 5 years. So that's what I've been able to kind of transfer over, and I think that's why I've done well because I've taken those skills that I learned elsewhere. It's like Simdane as well. Like there's countless examples of people who've taken skills that they have elsewhere and apply it to, that, and that's why the growth has come.
That was odd seeing a video of myself on there singing about Assetto Corsa.
He did a great job. He always does. But also, obviously, we talk about it being and it can be very isolating making videos as much as you've got a huge audience, you're like kind of on your own, talking to a camera. What was the first real world opportunity that was kind of opened up to you through your Jimmy Broadbent channel?
I remember this so well because I was so scared. So it was Drive Tribe. I think it was 2018.
Oh, nice.
And
2018, that's crazy. That's so recent. Like I feel like you've just been huge for years and years and years.
No, it's just sort of just done this, and I'm like, I think I've been brainwashing people. I was like, yeah, I was there when you were born. What are you talking about? Some sort of Doctor Who villain.
I always thought I seem to remember being delivered by a man with long hair and beard and he in a shed. I don't know. It's strange.
Yeah, we were very poor growing up, No, so it was 2018, and it basically came about because a good friend of mine now, a guy called Mike Fernie, who actually does a lot of presenting for Drive Tribe nowadays, sort of saw some of my content. I think he was sort of a fan of like the series of the Nürburgring series, which I think finally has died. Finally, like, don't get me wrong.
Every single possible car around the Nürburgring.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed doing that series, but my God, like the last few videos, people were like, have you tried this? Have you tried like? And then it got to the point where it was like, have you tried an SRI Nova from like? No, like no.
Nova.
Like people it starts getting really boring. The thing that I found fun about the series was to have like all this stupid stuff that would never drive there go around there. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah.
But he saw me drive, I think it was the Schumacher 2004 F1 car in VR around there. And so first of all, he said, do you mind if we like post this on our channels? We'll give you like full credit, like on Facebook, stuff like that. And I said, yeah, sure, you can post a clip, if you want, you can cut it down. And that got like millions of views on Facebook. And
all the Facebook mums.
My God, the comments. Oh my God. So imagine like your typical Top Gear / Grand Tour viewer.
Yeah.
Imagine what that person looks like, and then imagine them watching a guy play a video game and talking about it passionately. Yeah. And you can understand what the comments were like.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah.
So, but then on the back of that, it said, well, we really like your sort of style and your enthusiasm. Would you like to come and do a job over in Germany? And I think it was the first time I'd been on the flight for ages, and I was so nervous about it. I was like, I was asking the guy like, "Where are you in the airport? Where like can you pick me up?" Like, you know, because this sort of pretend confident persona I have on now, like that didn't even exist back then. So I was like this complete wreck. And the job was with Audi, you know, and it was going to their test facility in Neuburg, where like the R18 was the tractor, you know, like they had it stored. But I wasn't allowed to go look at it. I'm like, please let me have a look at the tractor. And they had like this release of the e-tron Quattro.
Yeah.
And of course, in this weird twist of fate, it was a Gran Turismo thing. And Yamauchi-san, Kazunori was there. Tom, who I thought he was just a loud bastard at the time. The guy doing the guy doing the commentary. He was there working as a commentator. And then I was there like full beard, proper long hair, like hippie band, like just happy to be there, you know.
I've got this image of like super corporate, and you're just there like, hello everyone.
Yeah, I have this picture. I eventually plucked up the courage to ask Yamauchi-san for a picture, and he's just like there in the picture, just like
so funny.
Just hates me. He hates it. And then just more foreshadowing. Okay, because I raced against Daniel Apt in a race online on Gran Turismo.
Are you sure it was actually Daniel?
It was actually. I know. I looked over a couple of times, and you've become a gamer. And we did this 3-lap race around Nürburgring GP circuit in the e-tron, and I was smashing him. Got to the last chicane. He cut the chicane. He cheated to win. So see that.
Foreshadow.
I knew before anyone else did. But it was the first time that I got paid like a day rate to do something, and I was like, what the fuck? This money exists. Like, people do this? Like, is this how people work? Because to me at the time it was just I used to work in call centers and working at Tesco overnights, and someone come up to you and go, here is like a day rate for filming. You're like, this changed my life. Oh my god, this is a ridiculous amount of money. I can't believe this, you know. And then, of course, now, like, that's sort of what people consider on the lower end. But at the time, to me, it was mad. Absolutely crazy.
That's crazy. Like, was that the point, do you feel, that most kind of solidified in your mind that I can actually make a living from this? Or had you already kind of... Did you already feel that way before that?
I mean, even now, I feel like my career is always tentative. You know, I don't feel like it's something that is a secure thing. I don't feel like, hey, I'm now a YouTuber for life, or I'm now a presenter for life. I still think that it could just fall apart at any moment. Like, something could happen, or something like that could happen.
I get that, but I think as well, like, it's important to the distinction that I make is that the people who, you know, the people who support you the most, the people who are the most into your stuff, like, they will follow you wherever you will go, which sounds terrifying in a way, but also, like, I think that does give... It's funny. It's like when I was freelancing all of last year, and people talk about, oh yeah, but you're not in a secure job, and how does that... But then in other ways, I'm like, yeah, but then I've kind of also got more control over my fate, almost, like, than in a job where I'm reliant on someone else making lots of money to then pay me a wage. So I don't know. I think there's two sides to it as well.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree with that. But I just always feel like what we do, you know, it hangs in the balance a lot. I mean, it shows very well by, you know, what we've all gone through in the last year or so. You know, with COVID, etc. And I've just been lucky to be in the right place at the right time with that. I think to see sort of the explosion in the channel since then. We worked out between me and the mods the other day that if I got to 600k before the end of the year, that would be 300k subscribers in a year. And then I think about that, and then I think about when I hit 10, and I was like, 10 was my goal on YouTube, to hit 10,000 subscribers. I was like, oh, let's see where we go from there. You know, we're now at this mental point, but yeah, I don't know. It's a very odd thing to. Things still like surprise me. I think that I watch other YouTubers and I see how they sort of become normalized to this level of like being involved in things, getting invited places. To me, it's always a surprise to get an email saying, "Hey Jimmy, do you want to come do this thing?" I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah,
Want me? Okay, nice. I mean, like Top Gear. I thought it was I thought it was like a fake email. I'm like, nah, they don't want me. What would they want me for? And then before I know it, I'm sitting in this GTA 6 thinking, oh god, oh god, oh god, like.
What's the kind of story around that? Like, I'm fascinated to hear how that kind of, I know like fake email, blah blah blah, but like, how did that actually manifest? Because that is surely life complete.
Well, I mean, it was literally just an email came in saying, "Hey, we're doing this thing. Does Jimmy want to come along?" And that was basically it. And it went through to so I have an agent nowadays that sort of helps me with a lot of the admin stuff because one I'm super dyslexic. So like I'm not very good at reading things or writing things or anything like that. Actually, funnily enough, so they can read, so I give the stuff to them.
Can you read? Yes, you've got the job.
Yeah, that was the interview process, and just to making sure like everything I read in there was correct, and it was. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's mad. And then they set it up, and it was basically just go up there and do you want to come have a go at this challenge? And I got there, and I remember driving in because everyone else, like all the other people, turned up in these really expensive cars, I turned up in this like ratty old Mazda. Like it was like this little bit rust and like hole in the soft top. I'm like, all right, let's like get out of the car.
Jimmy. That's why we love you, mate.
Oil leak when I left. I'm like, sorry guys, good luck. And then and then everyone, it's a weird thing because whenever you go to one of these events with, I say real journalists, like people who are not like. Maybe I'm giving everyone a discredit saying that, but people who aren't just involved in like racing sim stuff, though they do stuff, and they all look down on you a lot when you're there. That happened to me at Neuberg as well. Some of the other people there look down on you because you're sort of like a sim racer or a gamer, not because you're a real life guy. And then the chef's kiss moment was then smashing them around the circuit.
Good lads. Good lads. So you still find that is a real that's a very prevalent thing still? Like I know the legitimacy of online creators is growing, and you've got a lot of people like even someone like KSI. He's like moves in the music industry, like in terms of kind of validating in the public consciousness. Like you got people from like YouTube going on Strictly Come Dancing and all this stuff. You're flying this flag for sim racing. But do you feel like it's getting more recognised, or do you? I find that quite interesting that you were still felt looked down on.
I think it is getting better. People do sort of see it differently now. Mainly because companies have gone, oh, there's money in that now, so we've got to now.
Yeah, of course.
We've now got to make it look better.
Yeah.
But I think during lockdown and stuff like that, I had this opportunity to sort of be involved with a lot of real life drivers. A lot of these guys are like heroes to me, and I have all these sort of weird stories about like how I sat with Ferdinand Hansberg during the N24, and I have a soundbite of him calling me a cheesy boy on my soundboard now because that's really funny. How I sat with Rob Wickens and helped him set up his wheel, and also just randomly chatting with Nico Hulkenberg, calling him an ex-F1 driver by mistake, which is that was not a good moment. I had an interview with Sergio Perez on my stream,
Yeah.
And I don't fucking know. I have no idea how that comes about, but it seems that people are interested in interacting in this online space. But one of my fears, and it did kind of happen, is that as soon as stuff opened up again, you sort of like you were used, you're sort of thrown aside. All these people who had made contacts with me suddenly didn't want to talk to me anymore, which is a real shame. But I think that's sort of coming back around again now. People are sort of going, oh, actually, that was a good idea.
Yeah, I think that, like you say, money will always talk, and if they think that they can get you in and profit off of your audience, then that's just kind of the reality of it. And I guess it's just kind of being kind of aware and conscious. And I'm sure it's not all like that, of course. It's a very kind of skeptical way of looking at things, but especially within those kind of industries or those individuals who don't take it seriously, but just see see big numbers.
I go down the route now of like, if they want to use me for something, then I'll go in and just have fun with it now. Like I used to sort of try and be really professional with it all, but I sort of realised that I'm not a professional. I'm someone who sort of pretends to be a professional, and that's I think that's
but
who
also
I am.
You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your community, and you owe it to them, the people who are paying you, because ultimately that's the Jimmy that, even if they don't know it, that's the Jimmy that people want. You know, they want real, because that's what I think. That's why people like yourself, people like all of us, like independent creators, have grown so much, is because we're just like, we're given that real insight, and that you know, F1 as a subject has struggled for years of having that. You know, you almost had, like, back in the 70s and 80s, the drivers were more relatable and they were more like rough around the edges, and they seemed a bit more real. And then that kind of, they became super corporate and you lost any of that connection. And now you're getting drivers like Lando, like George, like Charles, putting themselves out there and being more relatable. And I think, you know, that's why we do so well compared to the traditional old guard. That's my kind of thoughts on it, is because that, yeah, people trust what we say more, because we're just more real, you know?
Yeah, the guy that can't get up and do 1,000 push-ups in the morning. I think I can do 10 nowadays, actually. So about where I am at the moment. But yeah, I mean, F1's interesting, seeing it sort of try and boomerang around. And again, it's because of lockdown. They've gone, oh, we can use this, you know, like, and we can use this marketability, which is what F1 is. People like to think it's some sort of like pinnacle of motorsport. Now it's just.
There's a reason that Lando Norris has got loads of merch, so much merch on the McLaren store that's his own stuff, because they know they can monetize his audience.
Yeah, definitely, and that's how it is. I saw a video recently where he drove, I don't know, some McLaren. To be honest, like, I'm not really a fan of the McLarens too much. Like the road cars, they all look the same. And because they've all got numbers, because my brain is stupid, I can't differentiate between them. I'm like 670, 920, fucking 420. I don't know what it is. Like,
I feel like they look like old, like, Burnout cars, like Burnout Paradise. I feel like I could see those cars perfectly in those games.
Let's just ramp into a truck and see how far we can go. That's what that content should be. But they made a video with him where it was a little bit, as any F1 video is, it's a little bit sort of like obvious, but they finally started to tap into the fact that he's not very serious. You know, like, well, I think irreverent is the term. You know, like he's serious when he needs to be, but also like, you know, he doesn't take himself too. And then it goes, and then that sort of worked out. The video was sort of interesting to watch because of that, but it sort of gets me into my next point that I wanted to talk about when I messaged you about doing this. Right, Tom, let's talk, because I cannot fucking stand, like, F1 fans, man. I cannot stand them, dude. Like, they're like just the, oh god, like just the unconditional love of one driver or one team versus the other driver or other team. Like, my big example is at Imola, right? So George Russell makes an absolute fucking tit out of himself, spins under safety car, wrecks his car, takes away his point that he basically earned.
Yeah.
Oh, George, it's all right, mate. You know, you try harder next time, it'll be all right. Alex Albon, on restart, spins on cold, hard tyres. Again, they're both on cold tyres. Albon, you fucking shit! What are you doing? Doesn't wreck his car, by the way. Rejoins.
So true.
And I understand that there's a bit of context there, because Albon's season hasn't been fantastic, and, you know, George has always been threatening to do something but hasn't quite done it. But it's just double standard. Same with Lewis and everybody else. Lewis becomes most successful driver of all time. Oh, Senna's better. Like, Schumacher's better. Yeah. Oh, don't tell anyone that Schumacher drove a really dominant Ferrari for his entire career. No, don't tell anyone that Senna drove a really dominant McLaren for like. And people are so soon to forget, because it's like this rose tinted specs, and I don't know. I try to be objective as much as I can. You never really be truly objective, can you?
Of course not.
But my God,
like, I'm Alex Albon's biggest fan. Like, I love Alex Albon. He's my favourite driver. I'm a ever struggling West Ham fan, ever struggling Alex Albon fan. I don't know why I do it to myself, but I just love. There's something, like, for me, support is about way more than, like, in terms of performance. That's why I'm a West Ham fan. I'm like, that's always been a part of my life. I don't support them because they're really good. I support them because they mean something to me, right? And I've literally, because again, I'm a huge Alex fan, but you know, I'm not going to blindly defend him through all of the, you know, he's made a lot of cock-ups recently, and I'll call him out on it. And I've had people say to me, "Oh, well, you're not an Alex fan anymore then?" I'm like, just because that doesn't mean you blind. That'd be like me saying, "Oh, well, West Ham are actually the best team in the world. They just get really unlucky every single season for my entire life." Like,
it do be like
stupid.
that.
like people. I think a lot of people don't like. I don't know. Like, for me, that's not support. That's something. That's standing. That is. I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Just when
man.
you're blindly just blinkered to everything that's going on around, just because it's your favourite driver. Like, ultimately, again, you apply that to any other sport, and it wouldn't. It wouldn't. I don't get it, man. But well, so what are your beyond that? What are your thoughts of F1 in its current state and phase? You know, what did you have any topics other than that you'd like to get off your chest?
I mean, I actually quite like F1 how it is now. I think
I noticed you tweet about it quite a bit, so I was like,
yeah. I watch every race. You know, I actually thought about doing like a, you know, you do the sort of the watch-alongs. I thought about doing that. I thought about doing it ages ago, but I didn't want to do it. No, I thought about doing it, but then I thought to myself, like, do I want to take away this one thing that I have for myself, and then make that into content? Maybe I will eventually, but you know, like for now, I'm sort of enjoying just sort of sitting on my TeamSpeak and chatting and having it as time away from that. But I enjoy the cars. People like, I mean, they sound shit, and I'm going to be that guy. Oh, F1 sounds shit. It does sound shit still. I can't get excited about watching those cars like go past in terms, but like from the actual engineering and the speed of them. Like if you watch any onboard qualifying lap and you're not blown away by it, how can you call yourself an F1 fan or even a motorsport fan? And I say motorsport fan because people are convinced F1 is the only motorsport, which also fucks me off to high heaven. But yeah, I think that we do have, of course, like the domination of Mercedes, and that's something else you see a lot of people getting very frustrated with that. Tough tits. That's F1. You know, like if the other teams can't do anything, it's up to them, not Mercedes, to slow down.
And this isn't the first time that's happened either. Like, this has always happened in the sport throughout the years. So
maybe not for this long, but it does happen. You know, like even you know, going back, you know, Ferrari dominant in times, McLaren through the years as well. You know,
Williams.
Brabham. You know, everyone's had their chance in the spotlight, but it just changes from time to time.
I think just people kind of resent, which I understand. People get bored of it and people get frustrated, but also, like, you know, I don't think Lewis will ever get the appreciation he merits and deserves. And people say, "Oh, he's never driven a bad car." I'm sorry, that McLaren at times that he used to drive was an absolute dog. Yet he's won in every single year he's raced in the sport. I mean, what do you make of Lewis and the attention and the negative press that he gets?
I don't know. I think a lot of it is quite unjustified. Like, I think that sometimes he says stupid shit. I think a lot of that is like tends to be heat in the moment. You know, like I do. If you watch me stream and I get wrecked, I'll call the guy a fucking moron, and then come back and go, "Sorry, you're not a moron. I just don't like you right now."
Sorry, what was the bit at Bathurst where you sensible man?
Yeah, I was like, "You fucking idiot!" Like I said that, and I was like, "Cut it up, man. You sensible man." Because I thought, no, I don't want to like. Problem is, people go after people. Like if they see their name, and I don't like that. I think that's terrible. I do not condone that at all. But to go back to Lewis, you know, I've had the chance to sort of to say met him isn't really correct, but I've sort of seen sort of in-person interviews with him twice at the GT Sport finals. He comes to Monaco. He did come every year, and we sort of talk about his experiences with growing up and like driving in sim. And like you see him there, and like the guard is let down. Like he's not like being media. He's just having a chat. Yeah. And then you see him and go, "This guy's all right. You know, this guy seems like a really nice guy who's worked really hard to get where he is." And I understand that there's always going to be a level of he's not the driver I like. He drives the team I dislike. Yada 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 yada. I don't know. It's a tough one because people always talk about the politics he brings into the sport as well. And I think that if you have a platform like that, and you're trying to do something that you believe in that I think, you know, is really just human rights, then that's not a bad thing. I think that's people say, "Oh, I watch F1 to get away from that stuff." It's like, well, F1's always been like that. There's always been some thing with F1.
And what global sport doesn't have that in it. In terms of like, in terms of like football, it's like wherever they hold a final will be. If it's in Azerbaijan, people say it's sport washing, like it's always been like where there is so much money in sport, that. And you can complain about it all you like, but it is always going to be like a fundamental part, because sport can really change people's, like I remember when it was, I can't remember the tournament exactly, but it was in football and Ivory Coast were playing, and they were it was like they were on the brink of civil war, and then the team had like won a game I think, and then Didier Drogba and the team in the dressing room they did an address to the nation like after the game, and that was credited genuinely as being a big part as why that didn't end up happening. It can be a force. It can be a force for amazing good, because ultimately these people do have, these sports people have a huge amount of influence, and I just think it's incredibly sad, because like you say, he does come across as a really like genuine guy, and I think people just twist it because he's always rich and famous, so he must be a monster who just wants money. I'm like, I don't think that's the case.
But then again, listen to what we're talking about. We're not talking about how good of a driver he is. We're not talking about how many championships he's won and how many times he's had these fantastic performances. We straight away go to, well, and that shouldn't be how Formula One is or a sport is. I know there's some things being brought in, but at the same time, we don't talk about Bottas like that. We don't talk about Kimi Raikkonen like that. Kimi Raikkonen could go in, do the same thing, and everyone would be like, Kimi Raikkonen, ladies and gentlemen, what a fucking hero. Lewis does that. He's immediately shot down because, I don't know, there's a lot of double standards in Formula 1 from the fans. And it's a real shame, because if you honestly can't see the absolute achievement that has come from Lewis Hamilton in his career, at every point in his career, there's not been a point where he's been bad. If you can't see that and acknowledge it as one of the greatest achievements in F1 history, then I honestly don't think that you should call yourself an F1 fan. I don't think that's fair.
That's because you're allowed to not support him, but to be so blindly like dismissive of everything he's done, because I don't even know why. There's a multitude of reasons.
At the start of every race. At the start of every race, me and the guys in TeamSpeak, we asked for a Mercedes crash. We're like, please crash Mercedes, please crash Mercedes. Like, we want to see someone else win. Like, we want to see that. But at the same time,
it's not because you want to see him foul. It's because you want to see a spectacle. Like for me, if Alex Albon has a terrible race, but it makes the race 10 times better, then sorry, Alex, but I want to see a good race.
Fucking hell, like. We always we send our energy to Max, like, Max, do something, please, Max, do something, and sometimes he gets one of them, and then that's it. But again, you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to have those opinions. Like, you don't have to live or die by each driver. Yeah,
exactly. It's sport, and it's crazy. But so, do you have a particular driver, a particular team that you kind of support and follow?
No, not really. I mean, when I was younger, I used to support Ferrari and Schumacher, because they won all the time, and I was a kid, Nowadays,
child.
I mean, you say glory hunting. Look at this. No glory in that, mate. No glory in. But yeah, I just like watching the sport. I've really enjoyed making like a purposeful effort of not being too involved in any team or any driver.
I kind of wish I was like that. It's like, at the start of every race, like the last few races, I've just been so nervous at the start of every single race, because I'm just like, Alex, please don't fuck it up, please don't fuck it up, please don't fuck it up, please don't fuck it up. And then he fucks it up, and I'm just like, I can't do it.
Fuck's sake, Alex!
Literally. So last race, we had to take Minton to the vet, so I missed most of the race. I come back, get my phone out, put Now TV on, switch on. It's the final lap of the safety car. So we know what happens. About 45 seconds later, Alex spins out. I'm like, for fuck's sake. He was in fifth, and I'm like, as soon as I switch on, he spins out. I'm like, wow.
He knows, man. Like his team's like, okay, Tom, switch on the TV now, and whoop, fuck, off he goes into the wall.
Time to press the Spingyala button.
Time to end my fucking life, and off he goes. But I don't know. You just have I feel like a lot more fun. Because then you get to support everyone, and then everyone else gets to be the villain at a time. Like watching Kvyat come up behind Ricciardo, I was like, yeah, go on, lads, fucking have him, Rick's had his podium. Get Danny on there now, Mister. I'm not going to be probably not driving next year, but
So true.
but the drivers I end up supporting tend to be people that I've met. You know, like I sort of like I half support Nicky T, and I say half because like it's the same sort of thing. I don't like getting too invested, but whenever I see him drive, I'm like, "Come on, Nicky," you know, in his seat, "Come on, mate, fucking have it." You know, it's always good to see people, you know, you've had interactions with doing well. I used to, like when with Lucas Ordonez with the GT Sport stuff when he did the N24 with Walkenhorst in 2019, I think it was. I was always looking for him because he's my mate. I want him to do well, you know, like, and I can get behind that level of support, but I just don't like the blind following of someone based on you like their name or you like how they look and want to have them in your bed.
Agreed. What about in terms of the esports side of have you watched any of the F1 esports?
A little. I find it hard. I actually don't watch a lot of esports or like sim racing stuff myself.
Yeah.
Unless like the stuff I have been watching was like the V8 Supercar broadcast or the IMSA stuff because it had like the proper commentators and like
the V8 Supercar stuff was amazing. I thought.
I really love watching that. The F1 problem is I like F1 2020. I just don't think it's a game that has the potential to be that esports ready platform. There are too many things wrong with it. You watch the broadcast back, you see cars ghosting a lot. You know, people get randomly disconnected for no reason. Damage is weird, sounds are weird, and the commentators are fantastic. You know, you got Matty G on there, haven't you? And Alex Jakes. I'm contractually obligated to say Matt's good as a commentator, by the way. So thank you, Matt. No, but you can tell there are people who are passionate about it.
Yeah,
they've done a fairly good job of getting all the recordings done. Did you see the Marcel Kiefer blunder?
I saw
gave
the
it away
into Tunitsa when.
No. It was an interview, and they're like, "Oh, so how was qualifying?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, the race is really good. We did really well because the race is pre-recorded." But they were acting like it wasn't.
Oh.
It was. I watched it like, and then Matt's like, "Shut up, Marcel." It was so good. It was so good.
Oh, brilliant! That's hilarious. No, did you see the bit when Otmir went into Tunitsa because Tunitsa wasn't on Jarno's screen the whole game? Like,
oh my god, no, I didn't see that.
The entire race, Tunitsa's Ferrari was not on Jarno's screen at all. So when Jarno's catching Tunitsa for P2. You can see when he's at Canada and when he's coming, you know, the bit when Vettel went off and then squeezed Hamilton into the wall.
Yeah.
It's like that there, and Jarno's like driving. You can see he's driving as if Tunitsa's not there because he's just like right up his arse on the way through. Like you wouldn't take that line if you knew that car was there, and then he just drives it. You're right. It's difficult because obviously with that game they want it to work and the investment they've made like Gfinity and that into that and the I've actually been down to the studio where they filmed that and it's amazing, like the setup they've got down there is crazy, and it's like they've invested all this money but also they want their game to be approachable and accessible to people who just want to pick up and play, and it's like how do you satisfy both sides, you know?
Well, the thing is I like that game. I think it's really good. I think it's the best one they've made so far. It just needs more work. It constantly seems to need more work year after year. And when your development cycle is that, you know, it's
like
kind of hard
games.
to shut it out every year, you know. But it is getting better, and I do credit Codemasters because I think they get a lot of stick for and not really much praise, which is a real shame because what they've done is they've made the F1 game this mainstream thing now.
Absolutely,
you know,
they've made it a thing. Definitely.
Which it wasn't before, so there's definitely credit to be had in that. But yeah, I should probably watch more, but I don't. Oops.
It is no. Tell you what, I've really got into it myself this year. Like I've really been following it, and the oh my god, the gaps in qualifying, like
between, I know, it's mad.
Between what I think P1 and I mean P1 and P20 in Q1 was less than a quarter of a second.
Imagine doing this fantastic lap, being a 10th off and being outside the top 10. I would throw things, you know, like that. That'd be dismal. I mean, I really hope. It's great seeing the team sort of come on board and embrace it. And I really hope the drivers are being paid well, for crying out loud. Because I was in that same Marcel Kiefer interview. He said I was on the grind yesterday, 12 hours. 12 hours of practice around the circuit, and they're doing that like throughout the week. That's people say, "Oh, why don't you get a real job?" They are fucking working harder than you are, like at your fucking office job. So I hope they're getting paid well. I don't know anything about that, but I really do, because I think sometimes that sort of stuff gets taken advantage of. Companies go, "Oh, the gamer, he won't know that this is a terrible wage," and they're just happy to get something, but.
It hasn't had that time to mature as it is kind of an industry, and that always takes, like, you look at like League of Legends and they're getting paid absolute bombs like that. There was a kid actually who's quite local to me who won a Fortnite. No, he was second in like a Fortnite tournament like last year, and he ended up taking like about 800k home, and he was like 14. I'm just like,
what are you doing? What are you doing 800k when you're 14?
I know. I'm going to say
so much Haribo, man.
Straight to mum and dad. Lovely. Pay off the house. Easy job.
I thought you meant like they're going to buy mum and dad, right? I own you now.
Well, you could just buy the house, and like the house is in my name, so I'm just going to.
Oh yeah, and you can say like, "It's my house, it's my rules."
Imagine wielding that power at 14. But one more question I wanted to ask Jim in terms of like career stuff, and like there's always the question is like, oh, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm not going to ask you that, because no one can see them, like, realistically, like no one's kind of, you can't look that far ahead. It's silly. But maybe what when you look ahead in your kind of career, what don't you want? Because what I find kind of interesting, and it's the same with Matty as well, because Matty obviously started with his own stuff, and then WTF1, where he can very much kind of be himself, and I work with those guys freelance, so I kind of know how that works, and it's a very like kind of relaxed kind of environment. But he's also doing the more kind of corporate stuff with F1. You're doing the more kind of not corporate, but I'm like more professional stuff with the Gran Turismo commentating, but also you have your own channel and you've got your Twitch. Like, maybe what kind of, in terms of the tone of your stuff going forward, where do you kind of see that going?
I've always really enjoyed like having freedom, I guess. I never liked the idea of having someone tell me what I can and can't post, or what I can and can't make videos about. Because I just dislike that. In terms of my own content, my biggest fear in general is becoming like an entitled YouTuber. You know what I mean? I feel like I see them everywhere, and I like to think that sometimes that sort of fear is enough to stop me. It makes me think about what I am and the privileged life that I lead, because I live a very privileged life in this position.
Absolutely.
And I'm 100% aware of that. And I also just think I see a lot of YouTubers, they just become more and more and more broad. Like, the content becomes just what gets the most clicks, what gets the most engagement. And of course there's an element to that even now for me as well. And for you as well, you think of an idea and go, oh, that's good, that's bad, I won't do that.
Definitely.
But I always hate the idea to have that dictate what I do, because I wouldn't have fun. I said before, one of my favourite things to do is sit and talk with people freely and openly and honestly about things. And I think if I ever had to give that up, then that would be like a big no-no for me. But in terms of the future, I don't really know where I go from here. We're in uncharted territory. I found myself with this the sim racing channel, which for some reason has over 500,000 subscribers. I still don't really know how that's happened. It just sort of did. And I don't really know what I do with that. I guess just to try and stay where I am, stay in a good mood, stay happy, and I would like to do more presenting. I do like doing presenting though. I loved doing the Drive Tribe stuff. I love doing things where I get to talk about actual cars. I would love to move into real life driving and racing a bit more, but on my terms. Not like with a series where I'm like, hello, it's me. I'm here at fucking shit rainy place. I love. I've got my little master project going on that I adore that. I've got some other stuff next year that's happening hopefully, and I'm getting to make content about that. And that's the sort of content that I want to make, because it's personal and it's from my point of view. It's not someone paying me to go look at car. And I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit too hopeful, but that's sort of where I want to be.
Well, I don't. The thing is, like, I've spoken to a lot of people who've we've talked about like diversifying your content, and I know you said about that kind of the videos you put the most effort into, and like the real world car videos haven't performed as well. But maybe that's where, obviously, with your Jimmy Broadbent channel as it is, it's very much focused on racing gaming. Maybe that's where you set up another channel where the only difference is that you're putting the real life car videos on a different channel. The people who love you and will watch anything that you do will go over, but also that will give momentum to that other channel, and then people who aren't necessarily interested in sim racing but are interested in cars will start getting recommended this other channel, your like real life car channel, and then that could grow along the side. And then all you're doing, you're not like, in terms of, the only difference is that when you click upload, you just go to a different email address and then you click upload. Like, the fundamentals aren't, that different,
I have thought about that in the past, like the idea of sort of splitting the channel. But in my mind, that then creates two lots of work. Like I wouldn't want one channel to suffer because the other one's being worked on, or vice versa. Because sort of how it is with YouTube, you sort of have to have this constant momentum. You have to sort of have this schedule. If I then said took 2 weeks off to record some real life content, and then just smashed it all out on the other channel, then the other one's got nothing. And that one would suffer too. And I think that something that I like doing on my main channel is the journey, is showing the entire journey. You can go back to 2016, 2017 and see how I was then, and now see how I am now. How the hopes and dreams have changed, how like the real life has changed. And I guess maybe that's just thinking a little bit more from a personal point of view of what I use the channel for as well. But I think that I think if I had dedicated like cameraman and stuff like that, and loads of great content plans, I might go down that route. But for now, it is just me. Most of the time, I have a cameraman sometimes for events, but it's just but then it's just one other guy. I've always just worked very kind of on my own, because I have a very weird motivation / schedule of work. Like, right, okay, video time now, and the next 6 hours is hyper productive, and I just sleep for the rest of it. So, and not many people understand that, so it's hard to.
No, you like, it has to work with, because I couldn't agree more. Like, in terms of, you can't go into doing that if that is gonna, take away from the content. You want to get to a stage where, I'm hoping I'll probably have an editor on board next year, which it will be worthwhile me paying for someone to do that, so that I can do more content, but also just have more time to live, because it is difficult when you're, especially in the current times where we're so wrapped up in things. But I did want to touch on this. I know you've always been very open about your kind of your struggles. I know you say your channel is kind of almost like it gives you that sense of purpose. And obviously, I know you've done the year in reviews. I've watched kind of. I remember watching the 2018 one at the time that you did it. I was looking back through, but I watched I know you said that 2016 was a particularly difficult year. First of all, I think it's amazing. I think you've done way more good than you can possibly imagine, being so open and honest about your struggles, because so many people, like, I've seen it in your chat, and there's no doubt you see it all the time, people messaging you and saying how helpful you've been without even, trying as such, because just by being there and being so open and talking. Happy to talk about whatever you're prepared to talk about in terms of that journey, because I think that's such an important conversation, particularly now where so many people are really struggling.
Yeah, 100%, man. And it's always very weird getting those messages, because as you said, like, it's not like I'm trying actively to be like, right, I'm going to do some good in the world. You're
not trying to be a counsellor.
No, like, because I always, people mess me sometimes and ask me for advice, and I say, listen, I'm not a counsellor. Please don't ask me, because like I don't want to give advice that doesn't work for other people. And I also feel a tinge of guilt, because this is just like how like minds work, I guess, where people send me these really nice messages. It's like, but I didn't mean to do that. So do I deserve this praise that people are giving me? But for me, it's just honesty. I've always been like taught in my life to be very honest about how things are, because like it makes things easier to understand for other people. You know, we're in this really weird time now where a lot of people are just sort of isolated, secluded from people. You know, they don't get to touch anyone or hug someone or anything like that. And that's you think, I do without that, but you'd be surprised at how important this little bit of human contact is. Even just speaking to someone face to face. I mean, I think a lot of people think that you just one day you're happy and then one day you're sad and one day you're happy, and that's sort of how those things progress. But it's not like that at all. I mean, from personally, I still struggle a lot with a lot of depression and other things, and a lot of it is linked to YouTube sometimes. But there'll be some times where I'll just wake up in the morning and think I cannot get out of this bed, like it's not happening today. And but it's important to acknowledge those periods, I think, and those times,
100%.
and say, like, yeah, that was a shit day. But then the day after that, I got out of bed and I did things, and then say to yourself, well, okay, that's progress. You did good things. That's sort of how I started, and I'd even the really bad days where I'd maybe end up doing something crazy. I'd hurt myself back in the days. Luckily, I'm not doing that anymore. But I sort of go to bed and I think, why have you done that? What reason have you done that? And I'd think about it a bit, and then I wake up in the morning and I'd go to my parents like, sorry, I've done this. Like, I think this is why I've done this. Try and be as reflective as possible, but that requires honesty, and honesty can be quite hard in those times. So the thing that really helped me when I was super low is I had a good friend of mine, and I basically just like stayed at his house for a couple of weeks, and he'd always challenge my thoughts. So I say to him, man, I'm fucking worthless. And he's like, no, you're not. But he wouldn't be like patronising. He just talked to me like he was trying to understand. And that's the most important thing I think you can do for people, is to sit there and listen and try and understand, and not be like, you should be doing that, you should be doing this, because that doesn't work for everybody. You got to sit down and just listen to what someone is saying to you, like really listen between the lines, because it's not always easy to talk about it, I think.
No, well, like when you say honesty as well, like it's being honest with yourself as much as it's being honest with the people around you.
Exactly.
Terms of like, I've been that, you say about your friend, like I've been that friend more often than I feel is like than typical. Like I've been that person for a lot of people very close to me. I lost a friend years ago. He took his own life. It's an incredibly like difficult, and even I occasionally get messages as well. That was one of the things that kind of I got one on Twitch like a couple of weeks ago, and it was just like this essay about this and how he was struggling, and just watching my stuff is an escape. I can't think of anyone else, and you have such a close bond, and you've been able to maintain that even though you've grown so much in size. Like how was that? Now that the channel's grown to such a huge, over 500,000 now, have you still been able to preserve that kind of intimacy with your kind of audience?
I mean, I think so. I like to think so anyway. It's something that I've always aimed to do, because otherwise, what's the point? What's the point of being in this great position where I get to have the privilege of talking to all these people and hearing their stories, if I can't then be involved with it in some way? Of course, like, it does get more difficult because the chat moves faster and there's new names that come in. But you do see the same names coming back, and the same people coming back, and I do try and respond to a lot of the messages that I get. A lot of people will come in, and as you say, you get essays, and that's not a bad thing. I always read them, but sometimes you don't know how to respond. But I always think sometimes, I think as well that just giving someone the opportunity to write that out is good for that person to sit there and read what they've just done. So I mean, like for me, the 2016 video, I said why I made it in the video. Just put it in a box and get rid of it. And I go back and look at it every now and then, and I think, that was really helpful. I made that progress. I sat down, I listened to myself, all these thoughts, and I edited it as well, so I had to listen to it back. So it's mental health is weird, right? Because it's not like when you break a leg, you go, down the doctor. Let's give you a new leg. Here's your new leg. Off you go.
It's very
with,
surface treatment,
yeah,
isn't it?
with mental health, like there isn't a particular like treatment or way of doing things. So like I said earlier about looking at the videos, I don't look for an hour. That's my own self-imposed rule that I came up with over time, and it helped me. It's a weird rule. I didn't go to a doctor and ask him about that. Oh, Jimmy, you shouldn't do that. You sort of come up with those things that can be helpful for yourself.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of people tend to turn to sort of like narcotics and booze and whatever, which I did as well. But I wouldn't recommend that because it makes things worse.
It's a coping mechanism. That's like,
yeah.
I 100%. I'm like the reason like people get addicted because they're trying to self-medicate and cope with something that's going on. That's not the root of, I feel like so much more would be done to treat kind of drug addiction and alcoholism if it wasn't treated as a crime. It was treated as it was treated as the outcome of a underlying mental health condition. That's my.
Exactly. I mean, that's sort of what happened in my own family with my father. He was, he very depressed and then became an alcoholic, and then that eventually sort of culminated in him taking his own life when I was quite a young lad. But because that help wasn't there, and even then at that point, like we all sort of went, oh, alcoholic, and that was the end of that, which is not how things should be. But the way that I want to try and do things now, because as I've said many times, I'm in this absolutely amazing position where I have a lot of people I can reach quite easy if I want to, and I think the best I can do now is try and, if I can, promote the message of people trying to it's okay to not be okay. That it's alright to have bad days, and I'm definitely going to shill my charity race now. By the way, at end of this month, we have a charity race, 28th, 29th of November, and it's for Mind. And especially now, in these times, we're all stuck inside, and I know like it's maybe a lot of people aren't going to be able to contribute towards it. I don't expect anyone to do that, but even just sharing like a link to it or something like that is a fantastic way to do that. I mean, last year we raised 35 grand.
That's crazy. That's amazing.
And you think that a bunch of pleb sim racers did that, you can see how important that is. It's something that I'm passionate about, and also because I get to be a proper shill with it. Like, we know when you're a YouTuber, right, you can't be a shill. I feel guilty about it, but with like the charity race, I'm like, right, fuck it, right, I'm going to shave my face, give me some money.
Well, you're using. It's funny because I literally what you said about what's the point in having this platform if you're not going to use it for something good. That is almost word for word quoting what Lewis has talked about with his own endeavours and his own promotion of environmentalism and all that. I know and that's the thing. It's like there's numerous different causes and support and there's numerous causes that Lewis could support, and he's chosen the ones that he's chosen. Same with you. There's numerous causes, like there's countless numbers, but you've chosen to support, Mind because of your personal attachment to that. I mean, I raised about £1,500 last year because my dad passed away almost a year ago today, in 4 days, from a brain hemorrhage. And so I raised some money for that. That was a cause that's resonates and important to me. And it's like the satisfaction that comes from taking something that you've grown and built, and actually doing some real good with it, beyond the untold good that you've no doubt there's countless people who've been watching your streams and that's just been their part of their therapy, and it's an incredible thing when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to hear about your dad, man. I never knew about that, but I think it's a good thing to do. You got to think how that money would have helped people. What you can do, and ultimately, it's just a drop in the ocean, but it's still one more drop, right?
And as you're one person, if and any more, just being able to have a positive impact on one other person is more than kind of most people can more than a lot of people can do. But again, because of the size of your kind of your platform and
What's our R for helping people? We're 1.1 R for helping people. We're passing it on.
Exactly. Then we must come up with like a hashtag for that. How would that work? Wovid, because W. I don't know.
Oh my god.
Maybe let's not get into that. But one more thing, actually, I wanted to, because again, having experienced again a lot of knowing. I know a lot of people who are still really struggling. I know a lot of people who've been struggling and have managed to get out of that situation. Do you know in yourself, do you feel like you've got more of an understanding of, and obviously you talked about your dad and his struggles. Do you think you understand, you have more of an understanding of maybe why you suffer with the mental health, problems that you do, or and how has kind of therapy helped there? Because again, I've not been myself, but I know a lot of people who have, and they've all talked to me about it, and there's a lot of kind of similarities that I can kind of discern from that.
Well, I think that I won't go into too much now because it's a long story. But basically, most of my childhood was either spent abused by stepdads or real father, and of course then put into that and just surrounded by death. It's that sounds really dramatic saying it like that, but that's kind of how it was. It wasn't a good time growing up, and I did okay. I sort of I got through it all right, and then a bit of a trigger a bit later on in life sort of just brought it all to the surface, and that was it. It was like the floodgates, and I went through 2.5 years of being just what I was. In my own mind, I felt just insane. I didn't feel like myself, but I felt like I was being piloted. By some outside force. It was crazy. I think that I can see those things in myself. I can see how those things would apply to me, and how I react to those certain situations. But then the problem that comes from that, we sort of said a little bit already about it, is that people then ask you for advice about their situations. It's like, well, I know I'm pretty well versed in how my own mind works, and what I can sort of tell. I think one of the parts of sort of understanding yourself better is you see from further and further away, okay, there's something coming, and I need to just sort of prepare for it, because avoiding it tends to be quite difficult. But it's why I always encourage people just to talk to somebody, anybody, because one of the main things about being ill in that capacity is that your brain is not really working right. It's a chemical imbalance. So you might think, oh my god, everyone hates me, I'm a failure, and then no one challenges that thought in your head, so it becomes a fact in your head, instead of it being a thought of an ill mind. So it's always important to talk to people and sort of let them say to you, well, no, listen, you're being a little bit unreasonable, here's why, and have a discussion about it. But it ebbs and flows, because I've met people who have been super depressed and are just not ready to listen to people. And all you can really do there is just sort of try and support them as much as you can. But when someone is ready to talk and is ready to actually make positive progressions, then I think you can move forward with stuff. But it does come from you as well. That's the shit part about being ill. You've got to try and get better. There is a bit of that. You have to put effort into it, and that's not the same for every illness, definitely. But I think there is an element of you have to sort of think, okay, I want to get better.
Yeah, because again, as someone who hasn't themselves struggled but has known a lot of people, it can be incredibly frustrating and incredibly mentally challenging when you just really want someone to, just speak to someone, but just all you can do, that the way I look at it is just I as someone outside can open that door, but you've got to choose whether to walk through it or not. And the more that you open that door, the easier it should be for them to get through it. But ultimately, it has to come from the person,
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of culminated in my friend taking me to the place I had to go. It's right, you've got to go to your appointment. I will take you, and I will wait for you.
Exactly the same thing. Yeah. Exactly the same thing for someone I know as well. Literally took them to the appointment and was like,
good lad.
This is happening. So, yeah, it's. I just wanted to have a chat about that, Jim, because I think it's a really important message that you kind of discuss and talk about, and it still isn't talked about often enough. Really
No.
isn't.
It definitely isn't.
It
I
needs
hope that one day that it will be, especially now, because problem is that a lot of people are now falling into this. Now more people are getting into it. The mindset of, but other people have it worse, so I can't be depressed about things, is now even worse than it was before. So it's just this horrible cycle. So hopefully there'll be something put in place soon. But until then, we can just give money to Mind. That's how we're going to do it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Couldn't advocate that more, Jim. Couldn't advocate that more. Cool, man. Well, listen, I want to finish off. I'm going to finish off with a quickfire round because we've already talked F1. So this is the last little bit I put in the end. Well, I say quickfire round. They're quick questions that I want a quick answer to, but then we'll delve into each response.
All right, find me. Let's do it.
Jimmy Longhead, are you ready?
Damn it.
Right, Jim, what's your favourite flavour crisps?
Salt and vinegar.
Oh, Jimmy.
Or prawn cocktail. Depends what.
Jimmy,
if I'm feeling spicy or not, mate.
It's the double L or F.
Oh, shit.
No, you're the same as my missus. She loves salt and vinegar and prawn cocktail. So
obviously a clever woman. It's a shame about you, mate.
Jim, what was your favourite TV show growing up as a kid?
Probably Pokemon.
Oh, nice. Any particular memories of any particular? Who was your favourite character? Actually, mine was Brock.
I mean, Brock was just a pervert. I think Ash is my favourite. But obviously, I used to. My memory was walking down to the park and pretending there was like a Pokemon in the bush and throwing stuff at the bush. There was no Pokemon in there.
just the hedgehog crawls out. You're like, ah!
Yeah. What the fuck are you doing in my bush? Like,
it's a zigzagoon. All right. What's your favourite sport outside of Formula One?
Oh shit!
I'm assuming F1's one of your favourites anyway.
Well, okay. I'm gonna say motorsport because there's
Yeah,
more to motorsport than F1. Tom,
so this is Tomo F1, all right? Piss off everyone who's not happy about it.
I really like watching like winter sports. I like watching like stuff like ski jumps, this guy yeeting down a ski jump. I think it's really interesting to see that stuff like that.
Yeah.
But really outside of that, not much. I do kind of like football, I guess. I can sit down, I can watch football after a couple of drinks. If I'm sober, I just get a bit annoyed.
Do you have a team that you root for?
I used to support Chelsea back when like Zola played, like Zola and like Frank Leboeuf and like Gus Poyet and like all those people like.
Zola's
Dream team,
Don,
mate.
to be fair. Yeah, I love a bit of Gianfranco, to be fair.
And as soon as the money came in, I stopped being interested in sport. So
Yeah.
I never got to be a Chelsea fan that won the Premiership. So
You got on that, so brilliant. All right, now this is going to be a very, very difficult question. What is your favourite road car of all time?
Favourite road car of all time? I own it. It is the R32 Skyline
Brilliant.
GTR.
Where did that love affair start with Gran Turismo?
100%. Because of course in those games they're all buff, aren't they? They're all ridiculous.
Yeah.
So like, you'll be driving your Viper around and some guy in this like Toyota Corolla comes flying by. What the fuck is that? Like, but 1,000,000%. And also. My one used to belong to Jan Mardenborough, of course, GT Academy winner.
Oh, yeah, of course it did. Yeah.
So, like, there's just, like, that link there as well. And so, whenever I drive it, I'm just like, Gran Turismo. It's great.
That is so sad. How much of that, because I know you said with your R35, that's got a lot of the polyphony kind of graphics, hasn't it, on the
Yeah.
on the dash. But, like, how much of that, like, when you're actually in the car, was that a thing where Gran Turismo was involved with the development of that car, or was that too early on?
Well, it actually was like for the not in terms of like how the car, of course, was developed in the factory, but more like all the gauges,
the HUD,
they're exactly the same as GT5. So like, and it says when you start it up, like designed by Polyphony, and I'm like, yeah, love it.
And what would you say? Okay, so. I'm not surprised you said that. What about second favourite? And don't say you've got that as well.
Oh, listen, The thing is, I've only driven a certain amount of road cars, so I don't really have a big library. But I mean, my two favorite cars would be the Skyline and like a Mark One MX-5 Mazda. They're slow as fuck in a straight line, but like you feel like you're, you're coming around these corners. You got the really responsive throttle on it as well, and a really short gearbox. It's so cool. So, I mean, I'm definitely biased because obviously,
Of course,
have them, but I think so.
you're allowed to be biased, mate. It's all good. All right, Jimmy Broadbent, your favourite band / recording artist / musician of all time?
Fleetwood Mac.
Nice.
And
pick.
they've become popular again recently because of that video of the fella going down on the skateboard. But to be honest, that is a solid vibe. That video, I got a lot of time for that.
That's a vibe.
Fleetwood Mac, and then probably Daft Punk as well.
Ah, nice. Good shout. So I'll rate that. I'm not surprised. I can picture you vibing to some Daft Punk. I can definitely.
It's like
Right, Jimmy.
No, Roxbury, is that it? Yeah, sorry.
Jimmy. You found yourself on death row. Okay?
Oh shit! Not again.
Yet again, crimes against.
Not standing Alex Albon.
Jimmy, what is your final meal on death row?
Like a massive bowl of just like mac and cheese, like just like whole blocks of cheese going in there, like that, and then like what also like I have a big thing for Ben and Jerry's as well. Ice cream is like my vice.
Oh,
I fucking love it.
What flavour?
I'm a big cookie dough or caramel too. I
Yes!
like those two.
Come on,
those
Jimmy.
big ones.
He saved it. He's pulled
We're-
it out of
we're
nowhere.
back.
Cookie dough. Come on, we're back. You saved it from salt and vinegar, mate. Yes.
Well, I'm going to offset that. So, do you know what we found out with a salt and vinegar Pringle, right? So my friends and I, we like to drink different fancy beers and pretend we're cool. But then my friend's like, "Oh, I wonder what it's like when you put the crisp in the beer," and then you try it. And it's really good, man. Get like a little bit of beer, like an ale or something. You crisp in it, you eat it, and it's surprisingly good.
I thought you were gonna say you dip salt and vinegar crisps in your Ben and Jerry's, because I would have lost it. I'm not gonna lie.
I might try that. See what it's like.
Do it on stream. Come on, for me.
What if it's good? What happens if it's good? What do we do then?
Podcast deleted. Tip removed.
Oh shit. Susan comes round and just takes my fucking thing away. I'll take that.
Oh, brilliant. All right, Jim. Dream holiday destination. What's your perfect place to go on holiday on paper?
I have two, if that's okay.
I'll allow it.
First one would be go back to Tokyo.
Nice.
I loved it there. It was amazing. I wish I could speak Japanese because I'm just the stupid Englishman. Like, hello, can I have one ramen? Like,
hello, can I have?
Yeah. Speak louder.
Louder means you can hear me. Yeah.
And then looking at you like, what's this guy saying to me? And also, I like to go skiing. I went skiing once when I was really young, and I really enjoyed it because I used to be really into like rollerblading when I was younger. I used to like do all the inline stuff where you go and hurt yourself every time you go out.
Yeah.
And skiing is sort of similar to that. You hurt yourself every time you go out. So I would love to go up and have a go at that again. That'd be really nice. I don't know. I'm someone who likes calm over chaos when it comes to holidays. So
Are you more of like a city break person or more of like a chill holiday person?
I like chill stuff, My girlfriend Veronica loves going into like towns and cities. She's Spanish, so it's just noise all the time whenever you go over there. But to be honest, get a couple of drinks with me. I don't give a shit. Like I'll be wherever. So just apply me, just poison me before I go out, and be fine.
Well, actually, talking of that, I'll put that now. Alcoholic beverage of choice, Jimmy. What are you going for?
I like a bit of gin. I used to be a big beer guy, but then I realised that I was getting quite fat, and I was like, "Oh, geez, got to stop this."
Beer guy, yeah.
And also, like, I'm getting a bit older now. I'm 30 next year, so the hangovers are getting longer and more severe. So I drink a lot less than I used to. Also, it's just healthier to drink less. But
yeah, of course. What's your like gin mix? What would you have with it?
I just have gin and like slim tonic usually. Either that or just like whatever terrible soft drinks in the fridge at the time. You know, like Iron Brew, yeah, fucking whack it in there, whatever. See what happens. Like.
It's so true, mate. If you got a bottle of vodka or gin, you can just do what the fuck you
whatever,
want,
whack it
and
in there.
it'll
Don't worry.
work.
The peak
All right.
English response, isn't it? Like, it's what
Oh,
gin,
mate,
isn't it?
absolutely. Because I don't like if you were to drink like for beer, what's your kind of favourite beer? Because I hate beer. I don't like beer at all.
I used to be a proper lager lad, so I used to like go get like a 4-pack of Stella and then like
Stella.
in like.
Come on.
Did you know in the US Stella is marketed as like premium?
Well,
Like
they still try and do it
premium
now, don't
brand.
they? With the cider, Stella Tuacido.
And then it's just a guy out on the bench like, Stella, mate, like having this drink.
They're never going to recover that brand image. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen.
Either that, or I've been like I tried drinking the BrewDog stuff recently, like the punk IPA they do.
Yeah.
Again, I think I'm about 10 years behind the curve, as I always am with a lot of things, but it's pretty nice. But it doesn't come in pints, though. I want a pint.
You say that about you. So Strongbow, which is the duttiest cider in the UK,
Dutty grime, mate.
in Australia, that is like premium, and it's actually really nice. Like the flavour's totally different, but it's still called Strongbow. I don't get it. What?
It's because they don't sell the
us?
3 litre
It's
bottles
the
over
English
there.
effect. We just make premium things scaggy. I don't know what.
I mean, the whole world does laugh at our like alcoholism. You know that.
Yeah.
Like,
It's pathetic, isn't it? It really is. That's why it's a question in this podcast, Jimmy.
of course.
All right, next question. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Do you have a
Yeah.
dog? Have
I
you
have
had
2.
dogs? Oh.
We've had dogs our entire life. We currently have a German Shepherd called Blue. I don't know why it's called Blue because there's no blue in him at all. And we also have this little poodle / Jack Russell cross called Sadie, who has the most energy in the world and has this uncanny ability to jump from across the room and just like headbutt me square in the penis whenever I walk in the house, which is really nice. But yeah, not great in the morning.
Have you ever had any like dog related shenanigans while like on the stream or while sim racing? Because of course when you're sim racing you've got to be nailed on, no distractions, you've got to be in the zone, especially if you're doing like a 12-hour of Bathurst or something. Like, have you ever had any dogs getting in the way?
Only really once, because I tend to just sort of like they don't really like coming in here because the shed's like a forbidden area for them. You know, that's a forbidden shed. I tell them off.
You've
But
trained
once
it out of them. Yeah.
we used to have this little terrier called Monty. He passed away a couple of years ago, but he'd come in here and just sort of get on my bed and then find something to take and leave with it. So like, so I'd have like a t-shirt on the bed or something. He goes, all right, I'll have that, and just I'd be driving and just see him walk away in my clothes. I'm like, please bring that back. I can't do anything. And then by the time I go to find where it is, it's in the garden somewhere, half buried. I'm like, oh, brilliant.
Brilliant. All right, great, love that. Well, I don't really need to ask this, but I was going to say tea or coffee.
You know what? You would expect coffee.
I would.
But I also love my tea. I also like I'm a big fan of peppermint tea, Earl Grey, all that stuff.
Sophisticated.
Coffee before 12. After that, tea.
Tea after 12. Cool. Actually, a couple more questions I want to add on to this. What's the story behind the mint? That you, what's the story? I must have missed that video.
This actually, I don't get to tell this story because it's not really a story. It just sort of happened. Back when I first started doing racing, I was really into like these pastel colours. You know, it's really sort of soft. I say soft, mint's never really soft, but like it's really sort of soft mint, the soft pinks, you know. Yeah. And that was my livery in iRacing when I first started back in like 2013, 2014. I had a mint and pink MX-5, and my reasoning was that, well, people are going to see me, you know.
It's true.
But then also people see you and go like, crash into you.
Crash into the mint twat, yeah.
Well, you get a lot of those, you know, in the American NASCAR guys because he got a mint livery. Oh, he must not be a Christian. I better crash it. You know, like, and that generally happened a couple of times.
Wow.
And then from there, it sort of became the resurgence was when I played Euro Truck Simulator on stream, and like the joke with that is like I get a little bit, you know, a nice buzz going on when I play those games on stream. It's a bit more fun. And we painted the truck mint, and then she became Minty, and then from there, like every mint now is it's like, you know, it's like Link in Zelda. It's like reincarnations of the same sort of hero. It's like that. Every mint vehicle is the same. It's a reincarnation of the same original minty hero. You know.
Brilliant. I love that. Well, I noticed in your dirt video that you had the mint and the pink. So it's like Tomo F1 pink. It's kind of similar kind of shade because it's a bit more reddy than it is like pink. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry. I'll get your hex code for it next time. We'll make sure we get it right. Otherwise,
don't worry. I'll send a cease and desist shortly.
Stop it, cunt.
That's my hex code. All right, Jim. Well, I think we'll call it a day, mate. It's been 2 hours, buddy. This has been the longest podcast I've ever shot.
I'm sorry.
No, mate. It's been a pleasure. Well, the longer ones are the better ones because that's when it's just flowing. So, mate, thank you for taking the time. I do honestly appreciate it. It was a pleasure to meet you at Buckmore Park. What was it? That was a few weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, man. It was good. It was good to put a. Well, I say put a name to the face, but obviously I've seen the face before.
Body to the voice?
Yeah. The rest of you, like, oh god, I'm disappointed by the rest of you, Tomo. Like,
your feet are much smaller than I thought they'd be.
Yeah, I cannot masturbate to this. God damn it.
How were you after that, by the way? How were you after the 24 hours? Because you look pretty knackered.
I was pretty crunched for a couple of days afterwards, and then absolutely outraged that in the WTF1 video there was no mention that Steve and I had basically carried the entire fucking team throughout that.
Well, I edited that video, but obviously because I left, didn't I? I left on the Saturday, like at about 6 o'clock.
You did me right dirty, mate.
Matt did the VO. I had nothing. I didn't know what happened since after. So Matt just sent me the VO, so I edited it. So he's the man at fault. I'm sorry.
I'll blame you
don't
both.
Take any. I am just the editor monkey. Okay.
Steve and I have already got our plans for 2021. Doesn't involve them.
Brilliant. I would love to do that. To be honest, I would absolutely love to do that because I love karting so much, but I just like when I was younger, I could never like afford it because it was so bloody expensive. But
do it, man. Do a few stretches, get a bit of fitness going on, which does actually help tremendously. And
I'll have to ask for your recommendations because I definitely want to get into that more like next year when things return to normal for sure. Definitely. But yeah, Jim, we're done. So thank you for taking the time again. Did you enjoy it?
Nah. No, it was good, man. It was good.
That's just what I wanted. I wanted you to hate every single second of this last 2 hours. That's all. I just wanted to bring pain to you for 2 hours, mate. But yeah, I will be sure to plug your charity stream as well when that comes along. So good luck for that, mate.
It's always a spot open if you've got a wheel, mate. You're always welcome to come along and do a couple of laps.
Mate, I'd love to, but I don't have any wheel. I'd have to use my keyboard.
Do it. Fuck it. Do it. Charity race. Don't matter.
Exactly. It's fine. But yeah, mate. All the best. Thank you for taking the time again. Obviously, if you don't know Jimmy, then come on. You do now because you've just listened to him talk for 2 hours. But links to everything will be in the description below. Thank you again, mate. And we are done.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Finished.
Poggers.